I'd like to welcome everybody to the September 23rd Planning Commission meeting.
This conference will now be recorded.
Before we start, I want to make an announcement on a subdivision item 2.6, subdivision 2021-00040, Brookfield South, has been withdrawn, so we will not hear that case, so we will not be discussing that case. So now we have our announcement.
Before we begin the agenda, the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission and the Wichita-Sedgwick County Board of Zoning Appeals would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this public hearing. For those in attendance, copies of the agenda for today's meeting, the public hearing procedure, and Planning Department staff reports on all agenda items are available in the lobby. The Planning Commission's and the BZA's bylaws limit the applicant on a zoning, subdivision, or variance application and his or her representatives to a total of 10 minutes of speaking time at the start of the hearing on that item, plus up to 2 minutes at the conclusion of that hearing. All other persons wishing to speak on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per person. However, if they feel that it is needed and justified, the chairman may extend these times by up to 2 minutes. All speakers are requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please share your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the room. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. All speakers at the podium, please remove your face mask before speaking into the microphone. Please note that all written and visual materials you present to the Commission and the Board will be retained by the Secretary as part of the official record. If you are not speaking, but you wish to be notified about future proceedings on a particular case, please provide your contact information to the Planning Department. The Planning Commission and the Board are interested in hearing the views of all persons who wish to express themselves on all the agenda items. However, we ask that all speakers please be as courteous and concise as possible and avoid long repetitions of facts or opinions which have already been stated. For your information, the Wichita City Council has adopted a policy for all city zoning items. A copy of this policy is available from the planning staff. The City Council relies on a written record of the Planning Commission hearings and does not conduct its own additional public hearings on these items. The decision of the BZA is final. Any appeal of a decision of the BZA is to the district court.
Thank you. First item on the agenda today is to approve the Planning Commission minutes for September 9th.
Move for approval. Second.
Got a motion approved by Mr. McKay, second by Mr. Hartman. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed?
Abstaining.
Got one abstain. Ms. Fox.
Mr. Chairman, I have that the vote was 9-0 and 2 abstentions.
Thank you. Now we're going to go through the agenda, see which items we can take on consent and which items we'll hear. Subdivision item 2.1, subdivision 2020-00004, final plat Roberts Edition. Does anybody on the commission want to hear this case? Is there anybody in the audience in the chamber want to hear this case?
Yes.
Does somebody virtual want to hear this case?
Yes, Jane Dennerty from Prairie Crossing.
So we'll hear that case. Next item is 2.2, 2020 00042, one-step final plat, Greenwich Commons Edition, known as Top Golf. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? Anybody in the chamber here want to hear that case? Anybody virtual? We'll take that on consent. Next case is 2.3, which was subdivision 2021 00041. This has been deferred, so we will not hear this case today. Next one is 2.4, subdivision 2021 00042, one-step final plat for Cooper Creek Edition. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? Seeing none, anybody in the commission chamber here want to hear this case? Anybody virtual want to hear this case? We'll take that on consent. Next one's 2021, which is number 2.5, 2021 00043, one-step final plat, Blackwood Second Edition. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case?
Yes.
Okay, we will hear that case. And 2.6 has been withdrawn, so do I have a motion to approve the consent ones?
I'll second that.
Approved by Commissioner Green, second by Commissioner Hartman. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, we'll go on to vacation items. The first one is 3.1, which is a vacation case 2021 00037, vacation in a portion of a platted front yard setback. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? Anybody in the commission chambers here want to hear this case? Anybody virtual want to hear this case? Seeing none, we'll take on that consent. Next one's 3.2, vacation case 2021 00038, vacation of a portion of platted access control, Mays Road and West 37th Street North. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? Anybody in the chamber here want to hear that case? Anybody virtual want to hear that case?
I move for approval of 3.1 and 3.2. This is Joe.
Got a motion. I got a motion approved by Commissioner Johnson and second by
Corral.
Fry. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Now we'll go on to public hearings. First case is 2021 00038. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? I think, Scott, you wanted to hear this case.
Okay, yes, we do, we would like to
Okay.
present this one.
Well, here's that case. The next one's 4.2, condition 2021 00039, and I think we want to hear that case.
Yes, sir.
Next one's 4.3, city zoning change LC to PUD planned unit development. Anybody want to hear this case on the commission? You do? Uh, 4.4, 2021-00015. Change from SS5 to B multifamily. This was deferred to 11/4, so we won't hear this case. 4.5, 2021-00039. Zone change from single or SF5 to TF3. Anybody want to hear this case on the
Yes.
commission?
Yes, please.
Okay. I guess we're going to hear all of these cases, correct?
Looks like it.
All right, at this time, we're going to adjourn the planning commission meeting, recess, so we can open up for the BZA. First item on this, approve the minutes of September 9th.
Move that we approve the minutes. I'll second that.
Got a motion to approve by Mr. Green, second by Mr. Hartman. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Next item is the B.
Abstaining.
Oh, okay. One abstention.
And Johnson.
And Joe Johnson was here too. Okay. Next one is BZA case 2021-00043. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case?
Yes.
Okay, we'll hear that case.
Kathy Morgan for the Planning Department. BZA 2021-43 is a request, a variance to allow the screen wall to be increased from 8 feet to 10 feet around a battery energy system site that is supporting solar energy and storing it for the northwest area of Wichita. It is located, as you can see from the zoning map, it is located in an area in the current Sedgwick County Park that is, right now it's just open field. Would you go to the next map, please? There's the aerial. You can see it's the bike trail, walk trail is to the north, and then also there's a park trail to the west. Next. There's the site plan, and there's going to have to be allowances made for entrance into that site, that enclosure from the west parking lot, and it's going to cross the bike trail. Next. This is looking south across Zoo Boulevard, West 21st Street at the open field. Next. This is looking north from that parking lot and the bike trail along the west side of this site. Next. And this is looking northeast back toward the businesses there along the curve of Zoo Boulevard and West 21st Street. Next. And this is looking west at the site. And you can see the tree row over there on the middle right-hand side of the slide is where some of the outbuildings or office buildings for the zoo are located. Next. This is looking back toward the zoo. You can see the zoo buildings there in the left-hand side of the photo. And I think that's all of the photos. Okay. So staff is recommending that if the Planning Commission finds that all 5 of the variance requirements are met, that you approve. Staff did put 2 conditions on this. Well, number 1, to allow the 10-foot masonry wall, and number 2, to provide landscaping on all 4 sides of the masonry wall, because this is very open, and to 21st Street, Zoo Boulevard, and to the west to the park, Sedgwick County Park, and then to the east to the zoo property. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Any questions of staff? Ms. Foster?
Kathy, what will the crossings of the bike path be like? Will there be a stop sign for vehicles coming in and out of this facility before they cross the path, or what?
I think that will be decided when we do the final site plan on this. It seems to me like we were talking about doing something or needing to do something with the bike path so that it can handle the trucks and whatever that will go across it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Kathy, did I hear you say a 10-foot masonry wall or a 9-foot?
Yes, it's 10 feet.
Okay.
There was an error in the staff report.
Okay.
I didn't catch all the 9 feet and change them to 10 because
Like on the front page.
the applicant requested after I got the staff report done that it be 10 feet. So yes, from 8 to 10 feet.
Any other questions of staff?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, not. Thanks, Kathy.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just want to make sure that it's clear that in this case, and Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong, but the applicant has requested a variance of 2 conditions on this, and one is for the height of the structure of the screening wall, so being allowed to increase the height, and the second one is to not have landscaping surrounding
correct.
that wall. Staff are recommending, if you find that all the conditions are met, staff are then recommending then that the wall be allowed, the height increase, but that the landscaping still be required.
All right. Thank you for that clarification, Scott.
Thanks, Kathy. Applicant or agent? You have 10 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Rebecca Melius. I'm with Professional Engineering Consultants down on 303 South Topeka, agent for the applicant. And following some additional discussion with staff, our client, Evergy, is in agreement with the landscaping requirement. So we are comfortable with all of the recommendations of staff. I will note we did initially request a 9-foot wall due to current construction issues. 9 foot are a little harder to get than 10 foot, I guess, was the story that I got most recently. They have some precast 10 that are a little easier to maneuver and manipulate. So if at the time of construction, 9 foot is just as easily available, they'll likely reduce back to the 9 foot because that is their typical standard, but they'd like a little bit of flexibility if possible up to that 10 foot based on practices during construction. I might add the driveways, I don't have an answer on the bike path crossing. I think that's something that we can work closely with the county and the development of the property with. There will be concrete drive approaches that are constructed. So the bike path itself will have basically just a tie-in, the existing asphalt where the concrete drive will come through. So the existing path shouldn't have to encumber anything from the trucks because that would be covered by the driveway approaches. But I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Any questions of that, agent?
No, but now I have another one for Kathy. So do we need to have the text say something like 9 or 10 feet, or 10-foot maximum, or between 8 and 10, or something to allow them the flexibility Rebecca says they need based on construction
10
material
feet.
availability?
Up to 10 feet.
Up to 10 feet, okay. Thank you. I didn't read that
No less
carefully.
than 8.
Okay,
I mean, they may come back in with a forfeit.
Anybody in the audience want to speak on this item? Anybody virtual want to speak on it? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to commission.
move to approve per staff comments.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Ms. Fox and second by Mr. Hartman. Mr. McKay.
On your motion, you'll make a clarification on the wall, because they're asking for 10, and she said it might be 9.
Well, I thought that was,
Up to 10.
If I may, as part of your motion, I would also suggest that you include that you find that all 5 conditions that are necessary for the granting of the variance have been met.
okay. May I revise the motion? Move to approve per staff comments since all 5 conditions have been met. Is that good enough?
Now that we got a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Carries unanimously. Now we will leave the BZA and go back to the Planning Commission meeting, which I believe item 2.1 is the first one we should hear. 2020-00004.
Neil Straw, Planning Staff. Item 2-2.1 is the Roberts Edition. This plat's located on the east side of 167th Street West, south of Central in the county. This encompasses 35 lots, and the zoning is SF20. A zone change had been approved, I believe, a couple of months ago. There was several versions of this plat reviewed by the subdivision committee. First, a sketch plat. Sketch plat encompassed 20 lots, ranging in size from 2 to 5 acres. Since that didn't comply with the comprehensive plan, the subdivision committee wanted the applicant to file a zone change to SF20 and allow 1 acre lots, and the applicant did so. There was a revised sketch plat approved subject to the zone change, then a preliminary plat, and then a final plat, which was reviewed at our last meeting. At the last meeting, this is the final plat. The plat denotes a connection to the south, Talia Street right here, which was previously located from the east side, which was shown on the preliminary, but at this location right here, we were told by the developer to the south that it will not be constructed anytime soon, most likely 8 to 10 years. Based on that information, County Fire did not consider that a valid second point of access. Therefore, they needed an second access through shade to the east. There was considerable objection to that street connection by the neighbors. The neighbors that resided on Shade Street and also Reese Road. At the subdivision committee last week, There was a resident speaking on behalf of the neighbors. He stated that the neighbors would be agreeable to constructing and maintaining an emergency access easement right at this location between the Platte and Shade Street to allow for emergency fire access. Although the applicant's agent stated that an emergency gate was not desired by the owner. The subdivision committee approved the plat with the through street to the east. Any questions for staff?
Any questions of staff? Mr. Warren?
Yeah, the access to, at the bottom of the plant, that's going south?
Yes, that was to the Pike Third Edition, which is a plat that was preliminarily approved at our last subdivision meeting.
Okay, so the plat calls for that will go in, but just not at this time?
That's correct.
We had good luck with those kinds of deals where we kick the can down the road, and then 10 years from now, 12 years from now, we start to put in a street and people scream bloody murder. We're ruining their neighborhood and their lives for putting something like that in.
Well, it's on the plat. This isn't a contingent dedication. It's an outright dedication shown on the plat. So everybody should be aware of this for the future.
Okay.
Any other questions of staff? Mr. Green?
Yeah, Mr. Warren, what makes, like Neil was saying, what makes this different is this is not being considered an emergency access road. This is actually a paved street, dedicated street. And the plat to the south, Pike Third, has a dedicated street right-of-way to the north where these two will connect.
All I'm saying is that when it comes in time to put it in the street, people scream.
Oh, true.
They think that it's, because it's not done, it's not ever going to be done. Somebody buys a house, they don't get that information at the closing table. Everybody assumes it's gonna be like that forever, and then it's not. I guess I've just got a problem kicking that can down the road. I would just, if that's the plat, put the road in. But that's just my opinion. If it's on the plat, do it, and do it now, while everybody knows about it. Then you don't have that argument coming up later. But that's.
And we've got a road to nowhere that somebody has to maintain, and, people need to pay attention to these things when they buy property. It's not really our responsibility to hold their hand through the process of property purchase.
Tell that to an uninitiated person buying their first home. They don't know the rules.
I understand that, but
Mr. McKay?
Well, a couple things. Number one, the dedicated right-of-way, future dedicated right-of-way, probably was mandated by the city during the subdivision regulations. And I don't see the difference between that, because I think Shade Street was a dedicated right-of-way tying into this. That's why they tied into it on the Roberts edition. I'm having a tough time with what's the difference between the exit out of the south that's dedicated and what happened on Shade Street many years ago. So.
Any other discussion or questions of staff? Seeing none, applicant or agent, please. Applicant or agent?
Garber online?
Is it Roberts on the line? Roberts. John Roberts is the owner. He could-
This is Dave Brown. I'm a agent for Don Roberts. I'm the real estate agent who's been marketing the property for Don Roberts. Don Roberts is not on the line with us today, but I can attempt to answer any question you may have.
Could you repeat your name again?
Dave Brown, with Berkshire Hathaway PenFed Realty.
Brown.
Dave Brown?
Yes.
You got 10 minutes.
Well, I'm not sure what you want me to say. You were asking for John to take the mic, but John is not available today. I thought Dan Garber, who is our engineer or our surveyor that developed the plat for us, would be present. So I don't know that I have anything specific to say unless you have a direct question.
Is he in agreement with the staff comments?
Are you agreeing with staff comments?
Which comment would that be?
Scott, can you help me out on this?
A
Items
through
A through
BB.
double B.
I'm sorry, somebody said something.
There's like 28 of them or something, A through BB, all those comments.
I'm unfortunately, I just logged on to listen today. I don't have anything in front of me. Is there some place where I can find these comments? I had expected Dan Garber to be here, and since he's not, I just was trying to solve the fact that no one was answering you.
Scott, could,
Mr. Chairman, based on what's happened in previous meetings when we don't have the agent on, what I'd like to suggest is perhaps deferring this one until later in this meeting, and I will reach out to the agent, see if I can
if we,
get hold of
okay.
him.
We will defer this case till
So moved.
later.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. McGee.
Scott, possible for them to go on, not all 20-some of them, but the recommendation of the subdivision?
I'm sorry, sir, can you restate that?
Saying that we made a recommendation to subdivision.
Yes, sir.
Approval subject to that, if they agree to that, not going through each 22 items or how many there are.
Yeah, yes, because they should be well-versed, and we can bring that up immediately. Are you in agreement with the staff comments? Well, I'll give him a call and see if I can.
Do we need a motion to defer? Or is it just the chairman?
Mr. Van Zandt.
Hello, Justin Wagner, Assistant County Counselor. I think the proper procedure on this would just be have a motion to table the item until later in the meeting, until the chairman would call the item back in front of the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
I move we
move to-
table.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Green, second by Ms. Fox. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, the next item is at 2.5, is that correct?
Yep.
2021-00043.
Backwoods Second Edition is a county plat located south of 69th Street North, west of Meridian. This encompasses 3 lots. Zoning is SF20. Next slide, please. This is in the Valley Center Urban Area of Influence. Valley Center has not commented on the plat. The drainage plan has not been submitted yet, and staff will hold on to the plat until that has been submitted. The issue at our subdivision meeting was in regards to access control per item E of the staff report. Access control was not denoted on the plat. County Public Works requested access control be established, stating that Sheridan does act as a arterial, even though it is not officially classified as one, and they're looking for one opening per lot. The agent desired 2 openings for the northernmost lot. You can see on the aerial there is currently 2 openings on that lot. The subdivision committee reviewed the issue and approved 4 openings, 2 existing openings for the northernmost lot, and 1 opening for lots 2 and 1 to the south. Any questions for staff?
Any questions, staff? Seeing none. Thanks. Applicant or agent?
Kirk Miller, K.E. Miller Engineering. We're in agreement with staff comments, except for item E, where we would like the 2 openings on lot 3, because it already has 2 drives right there, one that goes to the building in the back and one that goes to the garage on the house. We'd like to keep that and then have 1 drive for the other 2 lots. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions, the agent? Seeing none. Anybody in the commission chambers want to speak on this item? Anybody virtual want to speak on this item?
Hey, Kirk, I got one question there on that. This is Daniel with Sedgwick County Public Works. We're talking about lot 3, you're wanting two drive entrance points, correct?
Correct.
That's what we were talking about. That went through subdivision that way, and that was agreed upon then?
Yes, the subdivision agreed upon it, yes.
Okay. I just wanted that clarification. Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak on this? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to commission.
Move we approve per staff comments. And since there's been so much discussion on it, for item E, the approval of 4 openings, 2 for the 2 existing openings for lot 3, and then 1 opening each for lots 1 and lots 2. For lots 1 and 2.
Second.
Got a motion to approve by Mr. Green, second by Ms. Fox. Any discussion?
Question. That was the recommendation, that was the genesis of the subdivision committee wanted?
Yes.
Okay, yes, thank you.
I just clarified it because it had been discussed a couple of times during this meeting, so I wanted it to be.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay, the next item is 2021-00038.
Kathy Morgan for the Planning Department. This conditional use is in association with the BZA case that we heard previously. And a conditional use is required for a major utility in the zoning districts. This happens to be in SF20. It is county property. Surrounding the south of Zoo Boulevard and West 21st Street is the county park. And you can see that it's SF20, and north of that is a mix of limited industrial and general commercial. This project does conform with the Community Investments Plan, and it is located on the edge of the central established area according to the Wichita Places for People Plan. As you go to the next slide, please, go to the aerial. As you can see, it does support the pedestrian access by the paths that go through the park, and this path goes all the way down to Watson Park to the south on the south side of Wichita. And so staff has not had any phone calls about this, not received any emails, and staff is recommending approval of the conditional use for the battery energy storage site. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Any questions of staff? Seeing none. Applicant or agent?
Good afternoon, Rebecca Melius with PEC, agent for the applicant. We are in agreement with staff comment and look forward to a new substation.
Any questions of the agent? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else would like to speak on this in the commission here? Chamber? How about virtual? Hearing none, I'll bring it back to commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
I move for approval, subject to staff comments.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Hartman, second by Mr. Dool. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? That carries unanimously. Next item is 2021-00039 and 2021-00041.
Good afternoon, Philip Zievenbergen with planning staff. Con 2139 and Zone 2141 are both applications to amend previously approved governing language for a property zone limited industrial located on the southeast corner of Greenwich and East 29th Street. In specifics, the requested amendment to Protective Overlay 74 is to increase the maximum height of structures from 55 feet to 65 feet. Limited industrial zoning allows height of structures to be 80 feet, and the airport hazard zone that this land is located in permits heights up to 75 feet. So staff has no issue with that. The requested amendment to the conditional use, which was approved in 2019, there's a general summary on page 2 of your staff report, is to permit additional uses for an entertainment venue, full-service restaurant and bar, event center, and entertainment space. All of that together would have to be classified under nightclub in the city because of the presence of alcohol and entertainment as defined by the code. It would also permit 2 30-foot by 50-foot high-definition digital screens at the driving range. This would be facing the golfers who are driving. We do have a rendering we'll get into here as to what a functional space looks like, and I'll defer to the applicant as to what the purpose of those screens are. It also permit exposed LED lighting at the hitting bays. My understanding is there's exposed LED lighting kind of around the perimeter of the hitting bays that are outdoors. And then finally, adjust the permitted hours of operation to permit the establishment to be open later. The proposed language for the conditional use amendment is in your staff report. All the proposed language is highlighted in yellow. Overall, staff is in agreement with the applicant regarding their proposed amendments to the conditional use, except for the hours of operation. So I'll spend the majority of the time speaking about the differences between this. On page 3, there's a table that summarizes the differences between what was approved in 2019 versus what is being requested or proposed with this application. In 2019, the language was that all outdoor events, including all entertainment events featuring live music and go-kart facility, would have to end at 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and then would be allowed to operate till 12 a.m. Friday and Saturday. That language did not specify or take out the hitting bays to be a separate item. I guess it was assumed that they were considered under the outdoor events in the original language. But in the proposed language, they did have the language you see in that second row there. The current proposal would allow all those outdoor events, including entertainment events featuring live music and go-kart facility, to operate till 1 a.m. every single day. And then they had a caveat to say that all other operations, which would include indoor operations, including the hitting bays and the playing field for the golf driving range, would allow to be open till 2 a.m. every single day of the week. Staff is still recommending that the hours of operation stay as they were approved in 2019 for 3 different reasons. Number one, initially we did a review of top golf establishments throughout the country, and their current hours of operation fit within the time frame that we are recommending. However, we have had conversation with the applicant that state that Top Golf, once COVID procedures are allowed to suspend, and they would like to open their hours of operation till later, which is what they operated before COVID hit. Another reason why we're recommending the hours of operation to stay is the established residential uses. If you look to the east, there's an established multifamily apartment complex that is built and occupied. If we go to the site plan, okay, our clicker's not working, keep going. On the north end of the site is the golf driving range. You can see on the very eastern side here a reserve with a water feature, but it looks like there's a boardwalk. Some of the text in here, I know you really can't read it here, but it actually says outdoor entertainment space or outdoor venue. Basically, and then these gray boxes are the existing multifamily structures. Our concern is that if you were to allow things till 1 a.m. and 2 a.m., that we could be bringing in a nuisance to an established residential use. The recommended language for the staff report does not prohibit the indoor functions of the establishment to end at 11 and midnight. It's only the outdoor functions, including the live music and events. So if they had live music stuff indoors, that would be fine. If there were events that were outdoors, that would be the things that were ending at 11 p.m. or 12 a.m. On the given days. And the final reason why staff is recommending that the hours of operation stay the way they are is that in 2019, when this conditional use was initially applied for, was for a multi-story golf driving range and entertainment complex with events that would have outdoor live music and other things of that nature. The operator of the establishment has changed, but the function of the site generally has not. We feel that if it was deemed appropriate to limit the hours of operation to 11 a.m. or 11 p.m. and 12 a.m. in 2019, we don't feel enough really has changed other than an operator considering the function of the site. So those were approved in 2019 when it was a similar application for a similar type of event space with a multi-level driving range, to where there's not enough of a difference other than an operator wanting to have a difference in their hours of operation. Again, overall, staff is recommending approval. You have your recommended approval language for both the protective overlay and the conditional use in your staff report. You do have a revised staff report at your desk. I emailed it to you as well this morning. The only difference in the revised staff report is for the height of the poles that will hold the protective netting around the driving range. The height has been approved by the Federal Aviation Administration. The applicant provided us their certificate. It's in your staff report. The original language focused on the actual height of the pole, but the FAA recommended a height to not exceed 1,549 feet above mean sea level. The effect of the change in your revised staff report is the same. We basically are saying you just don't breach the ceiling of this elevation. That way, if local topography changes along the site, they're not limited to 156 feet. If they needed to put a 160-foot pole, but they still don't breach the ceiling, this provides them that flexibility to do so. It's a more proper way to write it, given the FAA recommendation and requirement that it not exceed that elevation. So that's the only revision in your staff report from what you got last week versus what you have at your desk today. So effectively, it's the same, just provides the flexibility for local topography. I can go through the rest of the slides here if you want to keep going. This is a rendering provided by the applicant of what they envision the Topgolf in Wichita to look like. Next slide. This is a drone aerial footage, I believe from Arizona, of a Topgolf structure there. You can see the concave structure is the multi-level hitting bay. You can see the lighting of the bay as well. You can see at the very edge of the field there, the large digital high definition screens. I think the purpose of this rendering, and I'll let the applicant use this as well to explain why they want to include it, is to show what the lighting looks like at night, to potentially avoid any misunderstandings of how much light this is going to be generating when it comes to is it going to be spilling over into additional areas and stuff like that. Our recommendation for hours of operation weren't necessarily concerns of light, it's just more noise and nuisance. You can keep going. Got some pictures of the site. It's undeveloped at this time. This is looking to the north. I'm standing in the Surgicare parking lot. That's the developed use right here. That is not included in the conditional use site. Next. This is looking northwest from the Surgicare site across Greenwich. Next. It's looking due west up from the south side. Next picture. This is looking along 27th Street to the east. The buildings on your right is the large retail shopping center with like Bye Bye Baby and Bed Bath & Beyond and all that. Next picture. This is looking north on the eastern portion. You can see the existing multifamily housing. Next picture. This is looking to the west along 27th Street. Next picture. This is on the north end of the site looking east, across Greenwich along 29th Street. Again, you can see the existing multifamily. Next picture. And this is looking to the northwest. This property is currently zoned rural residential and single family SF20. However, there's a application we're reviewing and will be at Planning Commission in 2 weeks to change it to limited commercial with the community unit plan for commercial development. Next picture. And this is looking back west at the entrance to the Stryker sports complex. Findings for our recommendation is the zoning and character of the neighborhood. As you see, it's a very growing area regarding commercial uses, including sports complex. The suitability for the site is zone limited industrial, and again, in 2019, it was approved for an event complex, including the multi-level hitting bay. Mitigations of the protective overlay should mitigate the possible negative impacts with the surrounding residential uses. The comprehensive plan identifies the site as being appropriate for residential and employment mix. This basically means if you have your residential will likely be more multifamily because of the proximity of employment, which we see already is. However, we do know there is some single-family residential looking to be developed nearby. In addition, your commercial development will likely have limited impacts related to noise, hazardous emissions, visual blight, and odor. Again, this is why we don't want to bring a nuisance to the residential areas and looking to limit the hours of operation of outdoor activities. With that, I can stand for any questions.
How
Yes, sir.
does the hours of operation compare to other facilities in Wichita that are typical or similar to this?
I don't know if we have a typical one like this. Topgolf is a unique structure. We do have the All-Star Sports, and I don't know what those are offhand. I apologize that I don't know. I don't know if, Scott, you can look those up while we're sitting here and we can get back to your question.
Mr. Green.
This is kind of along the same lines. The 2 a.m., I was concerned when I looked through this agenda packet initially with the multifamily or MF18 zoning to the east. Seeing the picture of the facility at night, it appears as though that lighting actually goes down and it's almost dark in the middle of that driving range. I don't know if you
More
can.
light on the parking lot.
Yeah, if we want to go back to that, type in if you want to go back to that image.
Yeah, I see, like Commissioner Hartman was saying, there's more light in the parking lot than there is on the driving range itself. I understand not having the entertainment portion of this application maintained indoors. I understand doing that with, possible bands or whatever else might go on there. But with regards to the driving range itself, it appears as though that light does kind of diffuse and almost is dark by the time you get out there into the middle of the driving range. Secondly, the height of the poles, did I read in here where the city council could override that height?
They also need to get a waiver, like an additional step in their approval process is getting approval from the FAA. But because it's in an airport hazard zone, anything that exceeds the height of the airport hazard zone also has to get a waiver from the city council.
So at this point, the 1549 is what has been
That's been approved by the FAA.
By the FAA.
Mm-hmm.
And the applicant is requesting.
They're looking, they just have to follow the procedure of also getting the waiver from city council. It's not that they're asking to override what the FAA has approved. Part of the procedural step, because we have the airport hazard zone, if it exceeds the ceiling of what the airport hazard zone is, they also have to get the waiver from city council.
Okay, but
They're not asking.
They're not asking the city council, and I don't think the city council could override the FAA, so.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that clarification, because
Mm-hmm.
I was not going to be in favor of that at all. Yes.
If I may, I do have the hours information for All Stars. And that is that they operate Friday and Saturday till 11 p.m. and Sunday through Thursday till 10 p.m.
They have outdoor music there?
I don't know if they have outdoor music, but they do have go-karts, they have mini golf, they might have outdoor speakers. I can't say 100% specifically, but it is a outdoor entertainment complex that likely will have at least music playing to some degree. Probably not live bands and things like that, but go-kart facility, mini golf, other outdoor features.
Ms. McKay?
Bill, can you tell us the distance between the entertainment portion of this to the nearest apartments or residential?
Do you want to go back to the aerial? I can guess.
This aerial is a little different.
And maybe the applicant and agent could be able to give you a little bit more. Trying to see if there's dimensions on here. There's, if you go to the site plan, actually, if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, there's approximately maybe 200 feet from where they have listed as outdoor entertainment on the west side of the water reserve to the property line of the multifamily residential. So you're probably looking at maybe 200, 250 feet.
This plan here, this site plan here?
Yes. So if you look at if you go to the site plan, type
on the
in,
west side of this site plan,
So-
isn't that the entertainment center?
So this dimension right here is 101.82 feet. And then this dimension here, this other horizontal line is 95, knowing there's a little bit more there. So you're looking from this line here to probably these first buildings, it's probably at least 250 feet.
Maybe I'm not reading it right. This is the map I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Okay. In the entertainment center on the west end of this property, along Greenwich Road?
Well, they also have, at this location right here on your screen, this blue text here, you can't read it on the screen, but on the site plan it says outdoor entertainment. So they're likely to have outdoor entertainment along this water reserve, which is just right across the way from the residential.
So then all entertainment is not on the west side of this project?
No.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
do, but I think it's for the agent.
Right. Applicant or agent? State your name and address, and you got 10 minutes.
Good afternoon, Chairman and committee. Brian Lindeback, 411 North Webb Road, MKEC Engineering, on behalf of the owner and applicant. I do have Todd Waldo with me with Topgolf here to answer some of the detailed questions about the hours of operation. We are in agreement with the amended staff report that was provided to you today. Our only contention is the hours of operation, and I'll let Todd speak to that.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commission members. Todd Waldo, Topgolf, 8750 North Central Expressway, Dallas, Texas. Would like to make a couple of points of clarification here. One of the items being the net pole height. We are in agreement with staff comments about FAA approval. We have that in hand. Just distinguishing that is 156 feet above our finished floor, which is consistent with the FAA approval. So we are in agreement with the comments from staff. With the hours of operation, much like other businesses, the COVID pandemic has impacted our operating hours. So venues that we have that are close by to Wichita, Oklahoma City, Overland Park outside of Kansas City, Omaha, Nebraska, Rogers, Arkansas, those all were operating pre-COVID pandemic with the extended hours that we're asking for into 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturday nights. All of our venues have been adjusted based on the pandemic, but I would ask a bit of a compromise here on the hours of operation. And if you can refer to the site plan on the screen now, just want to distinguish the Topgolf from the balance of the proposed development. The Topgolf building, which is on the north side of the 22-acre development, the building itself is about 900 to 1,000 feet away from the nearest multifamily residential building. The buildings that are adjacent to the detention pond and the lake feature are closer, as staff commented on. So I would ask maybe a little bit of a compromise here that we could decouple the hours of operation for Topgolf from the balance of the master shopping center development, and that the other compromise, we did apply for essentially extended hours, 1 a.m. and the 2 a.m. I'd like to just limit that to Friday and Saturday, extended hours to 2 a.m., and then Sunday through Thursday, we're okay with having our operations end at midnight. So I hope that's a good compromise, cutting down an hour or two of operations, but really focusing on those weekend hours, which is important given the distance of the building where the activities will be occurring. Any outdoor type of live music or things of that sort will be on the west side of the building, and the building will actually buffer it from the residential that's further to the east. Anything within the building, house speakers and things of that sort, we are able to adjust the volume of those speakers to minimize any type of noise during the extended hours on the weekend. So hopefully that's something that is found acceptable to the Planning Commission, but happy to answer any questions.
Fox?
The development to the south, how much control can or will Topgolf exert over what happens there? Is that part of your development, or is that something that will be subbed out to someone else?
Yeah, well, so we have a development partner here with Colby Capital and O'Reilly Hospitality Management. I believe Tim O'Reilly may be joining us virtually. I'll let him speak to that. If he is agreeable to those hours of operation for the balance of the development, separate and apart from Topgolf. So Tim, I don't know if you're joining us here virtually, but if you can make comment to that, that would be great.
No volume, Tim. There you go.
There, okay, sorry about that. This is Tim O'Reilly, and I'm CEO of O'Reilly Hospitality Management. We are an agent and the developer of the island land from Topgolf. We're basically going to sever this land have a long-term land lease with Topgolf. And so we'd support those hours of operation for Topgolf, as we know it's important that they have those based on how they operate all over the country. I'm also okay with our balance of the development having the hours of operation that are recommended. We don't have specific users identified yet. We're very early on in the process, and we're accelerating our focus on the Topgolf development. And then eventually we will have the hotel that's identified. We hope to get started on that in the near future. And then the facilities that are lakeside, you can see the substantial enhancements on the lake. And, that's going to be, I think, a great environment for the neighbors as well as everything we're doing. And then, we could have retail, restaurants, a mix. We could come back and try to get a change to multifamily in the future. We're just not completely certain. We're in several negotiations and discussions about that plan. But long story short is we support Topgolf's hours of operation and the compromise that Mr. Waldo stated. So I'd be glad to answer any questions about that.
Mr. O'Reilly, could you give us your address again?
Sorry, yeah, it's 4263 East Farm Road Lane, Springfield, Missouri.
Thank you. Any questions?
Not for
Mr. Blick?
Mr. O'Reilly, but I'd like to just clarify the hours that you're asking for, the decoupled hours. You want till 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturday night for all the things on this chart, the outdoor events, the go-kart facility, the open-air hitting bays, and the playing field for the golf driving range?
I think staff had recommended just kind of breaking it out to hours of operation on the weekdays and weekend. And I would like to adjust that as opposed to closing at 11 p.m. on the weekdays. I would propose to close at midnight. And for the weekends, Friday and Saturday, I would ask if those extended hours could be to 2 a.m. And then Mr. O'Reilly had mentioned that for the balance, for the other uses within the overall shopping center development, separate and apart from Topgolf, that he is agreeable to the staff recommendation for the hours.
Mr. Black?
Closing at 11.
And just to clarify, Topgolf is not proposing any type of go-kart facility. That would be something that would be part of the other portion of the development, which Mr. O'Reilly has agreed to those limited hours.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I add one more thing that I think will help a little bit? My firm has been working on this property for decades, believe it or not. Late 90s, early 2000s, the property was zoned to limited industrial from SF20 zoning. And then I think that the relevance here is this is over the entire Star Bond property, even to this property to the south, and then also to the property to the east, across the section line in the other quarter section. That was also zoned limited industrial. In the late 2010 or so, they downzoned the neighboring property from limited industrial to MF18, and they also changed the zoning adjacent to 27th Street on the portion that they purchased, the apartment complex. So they knew that this property was zoned limited industrial all along. In fact, they downzoned it. So I think that's an important point, as far as history-wise, to understand that they knew what their neighbors had the potential to do, and they decided to position themselves there when they purchased the property. So I think that's an important point to distinguish.
Mr. Black, did you have a?
Can you show the aerial of the one image before? That where it showed from a different city? I have a question for the applicant and then the statement. The nighttime shot. So a question I have for you, the applicant, it looks like this is a 3-story facility. Is that correct? Okay. So the question I have is Commissioner Green brought it up and said it looks like it's kind of fading out right here. Well, when we're looking at this facility right here in this photo, it's actually reversed. If you look, this wall of light is going to be all open till midnight or till 2 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be similar to like this, where it's just a big sheet of light and you're going to look out. And I see that we have a problem with all those multi-level complexes where they're going to be looking out and they're 2 stories high and they look out and they just see a wall of light. And I think that having the hours, that's my biggest concern. So that's where I'm at on this. Because it looks like it's just a wall of light and that's all you're going to see when you look out your window. So that if it was reversed, I would think that would be a lot better because it's going towards the street. But this is actually going to be a wall light that's going to be blasting into those residentials. Thank you.
And I can make a brief statement in response. Yes, this photo is an actual photo from an existing venue in Glendale, Arizona. It is a 3-story venue. We're proposing a 2-story venue here. The lighting arrangement will be virtually similar. We are orienting this to the east to eliminate any type of impact from the setting sun directly into the hitting bays. That is customary for all of our venues with a eastern face as opposed to a western face. And I will also say that after being out at the property last night and the Stryker Sports Complex in the distance with 11 fields with sports lighting, until late hours in the night, there's already a glow that exists out there. This will be much, much less. These are not stadium lights we're proposing. Nothing is installed on the net poles. All of it is LED strip lights mounted on the canopy of the building in a diagonal direction towards the playing surface. As you can see from this photo, this is the best illustration how that the light dissipates about halfway down the outfield in the fairway. There's no negative light pollution to adjacent property owners. We'll submit a photometric plan that details that in more specific terms. But this is a great photo to give you that illustration of what to anticipate. I will also say that if we can go back to the site plan, that what's being proposed at the end of the outfield, which is on the east side of the property, is a landscape buffer that will help to diffuse any concerns, again, to provide more of a buffer between our outfield and the apartment buildings itself. But keep in mind, we're 900 feet or more from the Topgolf building to the nearest apartment building. That's a fair amount of distance there.
Any other questions, the agent or applicant? Mr. Green?
I've got one. What is the height of the structure on the east side of the driving range where you have the two 30 by 50 foot high def digital screens located?
Those net poles or the
height.
The height of the structure that is housing the two television screens.
Yeah, those screens are about 30 by 50 feet in dimension, and they're elevated about 10 feet off the ground. They're for programmatic advertising and promotional types of events that happen at Topgolf. There's a lot of opportunities for fundraisers, spirit nights, things of that sort. So it's for programmatic purposes and also to show live sporting events. There's no audio associated with those video screens. That's all piped into the house speakers within the building itself. And the visual part of it is all directed back towards the tee line itself, the Topgolf building. So similar to that photo that was shared in Glendale, Arizona, that actually illustrates those high definition television screens at the end of that outfield. Everything is directed back towards the building itself and won't be visible from the residence to the east.
So they almost act as a buffer themselves. 40 feet high.
Correct.
Ms. Foss?
There's no audio, the audio question I think you answered. I wanted to know about sound.
Yes, so.
Other speakers, announcements?
Yeah, all of that is contained within the building itself, and their house speakers, and we can control the volume of that, so after hours, we can make some modifications. We want to be good neighbors. This is the long-term relationship that we have with the city of Wichita. We're making a multi-million-dollar investment, and we want to be a long-standing member of the community and be a good corporate citizen. So we're hoping for your
Mr. Warren?
support and approval today.
We're not in New York City yet, but the day's coming when we're living a 24-hour world. Several years ago, I lived on a property that backed up to Derby's Rock River Rapids, and the concern when that was there was that you're going to have this loud water park. It's going to be creating a lot of noise. What I found when I lived there was that you got a group of people playing. It's like a dinner party. There's a little din that's going on, but really it's not noisy. What was noisy was the night that if they would have a band and you had that noise. And my concern here is not light, because if you live in those apartments, you know, you're going to, whether it's 9 o'clock or midnight or 2 o'clock, if light's a problem, you're going to have shades to put up to take care of that. So I'm not worried about light being a problem in this situation at all. But my concern would be is if there is music being pumped out to the driving range portion of this. If they're in the building, shouldn't be a problem. But if they're out, if you got speakers that are creating an atmosphere for the golfers that are hitting the ball at 1 o'clock, and then you've got a wind coming from the west going to the east, you're going to blow that sound into these apartments. So that would be my concern. What can we do to eliminate or mitigate the problem with sound coming from the driving range portion of this to those apartments to the east?
Yeah, as I mentioned, sir, we're able to adjust the volume of those speakers. So late night hours, we can turn down the volume. We've done numerous sound studies at various venues across the country. Similar size, the outfield size is consistent with the majority of our venues that are open and operating today. And the noise studies have revealed that at the end of the outfield or on the property line, the noise level is pretty much at ambient noise level, that it's not, because of that distance, that noise is not heard. The live music, whatever small events that may be held, would be on the, if you look on the site plan, kind of the southwest corner of the building, fronting Greenwich Road. So the building itself would buffer any type of noise, and we have ability, again, to control the speakers within the building so it's not a nuisance.
Is there anything that you can put in writing that would give me, you know, some comfort that going forward, anything happening after midnight is not going to be a noise problem to the apartments to the east?
Well,
Do we have noise ordinances already in place in Wichita?
And it's working real well right there.
Yes, the city does have noise ordinance.
Mr. Chairman, you ever gone to this one of these top golf places? Gone to one in Oklahoma City and one in Kansas or Olathe, where it's at. And I don't think we have a problem with the golf portion of it, if you do the balance of it with the noise, the lights, and everything else. Like the gentleman said, they control it, their sound, and you'll see it's in a kind of a pie shape, not pie shape, but round oval shape. It really contains itself. The only noise for the golf, I'm talking about golf now, you're going to hear is from the building where they're hitting the golf balls over to these big holes. Everything's underground. It's all electrified. It's all electric, score sheets and everything, all inside the building. So I don't think you have to worry about noise from the golf portion. I can't say that about the balance of the subdivision. Concerned about the golf part.
I'm ready to make a motion. Does anybody else have
Let's
something?
get through all the hearing first. Is there any other questions the applicant or agent?
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand what you said.
We haven't asked for any other.
I know.
Is there any
Never
other
mind.
questions of the agent or applicant? Seeing none, thank you. Is there anyone in the commission that chamber would like to speak on this item? Anybody else in here? Anybody virtual? Hearing none, we'll bring it back to commission. Now you can, Ms. Fox.
I'd like to move that we approve as subject to staff comments with the exception of the hours of operation for the Top Golf portion of the facility only to be permitted to operate on Sunday through Thursday to midnight and on Friday and Saturday to 2 a.m.
I'll second that.
Got a motion with the change of hours on the golf side of it only. Midnight, all days of the week except Saturday, Friday and Saturday, 2 o'clock in the morning on those two. Any discussion? Motion was made by Ms. Foster, second by Mr. Hartman. Any discussion?
Have we received any complaints from apartment dwellers?
I haven't heard any public comment on this case.
What's the pleasure of the commission? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody opposed? Mr. Billick? Thank you. Next item's 4.3 2021 00012. Yes, Scott?
Mr. Chairman, I do have an update that the case that was tabled earlier, we do have the agent online.
Okay,
So Mr.
so we
Dan
go back to
Garber.
2.1?
Yes, that was point one.
Okay, I guess we was waiting for the applicant or agent to respond correctly. And you say he's
Hello,
on.
this is Dan Garber. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes?
I'm sorry. I had a health situation today and I forgot about the meeting. So thank you for making me aware. We are in agreement with staff comments on the Roberts Edition plat and would stand for any questions that you might have. We've been through the subdivision committee and planning commission and even to city council several times on this one. I think we have most of the questions ironed out, and we're ready to move forward with the approval of the final plat if you're ready.
Any questions, the agent?
I've got one. Mr. Garber, what are your plans for the streets that you have out there? Are those going to be asphalt mat that would be similar to what is in the subdivision to the east of you? Are you going to have rock gravel? Is it going to be curb and gutter like what will be to the south of you in Pike 3rd Edition? And I guess I'm trying to narrow in on Talia Street and what your intents are at the time that you start developing this, what your intent is with the design of Talia Street to the south.
Sure. We plan to have a 24-foot wide asphalt paving street with no curb and gutter. It'll have ditches for drainage. It'll connect to Shade Street at the east. And so that cross section is going to be basically just like Shade Street in the Prairie Crossing 2nd Edition. It'll connect over to 167th Street West. And then at Talia, we will do whatever we need to do there. I was thinking that would be just a paved street with ditches, but we have the right of way. Since we moved the connection to the subdivision to the south from the east side of the slough to the west side, we made that the same width as the street to the south. And so we could easily make that a curb and gutter on Talia till it gets up to Shade Street.
And then when
that's probably what.
and then when you're developing this, initially, are you planning on going ahead and paving that portion of Talia with either, probably with curb and gutter and asphalt? Or you just leaving it vacant until Pike Third starts to happen? What are your thoughts on?
We talked about phasing Shade Street into two, but based upon the demand for lots, the latest thought was to pave all the streets at once, and that would include Talia, because we don't want to pass another petition sometime in the future when Pike Third Edition paves Talia. So that'll just be included in our petition to pave Shade Street.
And I guess there has been communication with the county. I think Pike Third is probably going to wind up being a city standard street, and this will probably be county standards for your subdivision.
Yes.
And there again, I guess there will need to be some coordinated effort between you and what the city/county want to have for the design of Talia, and then you will go ahead and just address that at the time that you have your petition go around for paving?
Yes, that is correct. We'll meet with them, and both city and county have to approve the plat, and I assume both will have to approve the street plans.
Thanks.
Any other questions,
Thank you.
Agent? Seeing none. Anybody virtual want to speak on this item?
Hello, Dan. This is Daniel Tran with Sedgwick County Public Works. I just wanted to note that I believe we are still waiting on a drainage plan. Is there any movement on that?
Yeah, the engineer has been covered up. We do know the original drainage plan was approved, and then when we moved Talia Street to the west to accommodate Pike Third Edition, they've put in a detention pond straight south of the middle of our project, and that is going to slow down and decrease the amount of peak flow. So the structure that we had underneath Shade Street in our drainage slough, it will more than handle the water that they're bringing to us. We just need to finish getting the drainage plan updated. So we'd like to have the plat approved subject to that drainage plan being finalized, but it was approved once, and it just needs to be tweaked a little bit.
Any other questions? Or any other comments from the speaker?
No.
Anybody else virtually want to speak on this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, give your name and address, please.
Don Stearns, 410 North Reese Road, speaking on behalf of the majority of the residents in Prairie Crossing Edition. We've had several items changed during our negotiations. The council, the subdivision committee was kind enough to let us visit with the Roberts to reach a resolution, including options such as a fire gate. We were told in the meeting last week that all of a sudden the Roberts opposed any type of option to that. We were also told that the Roberts had a significant capital investment in this road, and that council there, I believe at the city, said that there's a case law that, he could be damaged by his improvements. I wasn't able to, in this short week, provide this information. I don't know, I don't really think you're going to be able to see what I'm showing up,
but in 2004, when we purchased these lots, they were sold as bundles. And these bundles were drawn in with all kinds of lots and all kinds of streets, including Shade Street. Shade Street was never a road. This was proposed. We went to the city and county. We had all of these streets running in here. We had them all eliminated so that the plat soon became to look something like this. Sorry if you cannot see it real well. There was no Shade Street. Well, it's my understanding that Mr. Roberts purchased an easement down here to the south, and he put in a road, and they used that name that's on the plat as Shade Street. And it's my understanding that Mr. Roberts wanted that access so that he could build a home for his family on this lot. And you'll note on the plat that's up in the bottom right-hand corner, that large portion is where the Roberts live. So one of the neighbors was kind enough to allow him an access easement into his addition. And to the north, that other lot that's vacant, that was for a family member of Mr. Roberts. It was a great neighborhood. Unbeknownst to us, there was a plan behind the scenes to where Shade Street was going to be opened up and another addition was going to be built. I don't know if that was discussed at the time that that easement was granted. I do not know if the intentions were there at that time, but when we purchased our properties on Prairie Crossing Addition, there was no Shade Street, there was no access. This was a dead-end road which dumped into Martin Estates. So I'm trying to hit a moving target here as the goalposts have been moved multiple times on me. I didn't on us, the neighborhood. I would like for the council to review this information. Yes.
Your time's up, but can you close this up in another minute?
Yes, I can. Thank you, sir. So we are adamantly against this. We believe that this was done kind of behind the scenes, behind our back, and to represent Shade Street as being a street that was already there is false misinformation. Thank you for the council's time. The people at Prairie Crossing are 100% against this road connecting to us. Thank you again.
Okay,
Any
hang on.
questions?
Any questions of the speaker? Mr. Warren?
Mr. I'm a little bit confused. Was before, when the original drawing that you showed up had multiple lots and there was Stern Street, a part of that, and then that was taken out when the multiple lots were taken out?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, speaker? I think there's somebody else virtual that wants to speak on this item. Please give us your name and address.
My name is Jane Detterding, 243 North Reese Road. And Mr. Stearns has indeed characterized the feeling of the neighborhood of Prairie Crossing. However, I want to raise a discrete point that I do not know if it has been addressed. When this plat was originally drawn, they were 2.5 to 5 acre lots. But based on a long-term planning proposal by the county, they had to be reduced to 1 acre lots. There is no sewer system out there. Has the applicant addressed how septic can be installed on 1 acre lots with the requirements necessary?
We'll let him answer that once everybody gets done speaking. Any other comments?
Yes, this is Melinda Morgan.
Give us your name and address. Give us your name and address, please.
Sure, it's Melinda Morgan, 240 North Reese Road, Goddard. I live in the Prairie Crossing addition. I would like to just remind the group that in the last meeting that we had, and we have letters to this regard, that it was stated that the residents of Prairie Crossing, the Martin Addition, and the Roberts would get together and reach an agreement on how this would move forward as far as the connection. And we all did meet in person, except two families, one at a baseball game, one had COVID. But we all met in person with the Roberts, and we agreed to have either a fire access gate or the bollards put up like what Talia has as their second entrance. And then apparently last week in the subdivision committee hearing, it came out that the Roberts had changed their mind about that and were no longer in support of having a fire access gate. I do not see any reason why we couldn't have a siren activated fire access gate, and the residents of Prairie Crossing would pay for it and fund it if that was the issue. Reese Road is extremely narrow. We have no sidewalks, and if any guests or lawn service or construction is parked along the road, it's a one-lane road, and it just can't handle the additional traffic from another neighborhood that's double the size of what we have now. That is all. Thank you.
Any questions of the speaker? Thank you. Anybody else first would like to speak on this item? Is there anyone else? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the agent. You got 2 minutes.
Okay, I'm not sure where the plat came from that Mr. Stearns has, but on the plat of Prairie Crossing Second Edition, it shows a conditional right-of-way right where Shade Street is now. And it's presumed that that was for the future. They did not pave that street themselves. It was for the future to connect to the adjacent land. So when Mr. Roberts developed his property, he paid for Shade Street going west. He paid over $100,000 to improve Shade Street from Reese over to his property line. Regarding septic, we have a letter from the county that says each of those lots will need to get with the county for a soils test to determine what kind of sewage disposal they can have. And we believe that will go well. Then the response to Melinda Morgan, Reese Street is not narrow. It's curvy, but it's 24 feet wide. It's the same width as Central Avenue. We've talked about this before. And Reese also has a 6-foot shoulder on both sides of the street. What it's missing probably is sidewalks for the kids to play on. And that is not something that our subdivision at the Roberts Addition would rectify. But
It's 23 feet wide. I've measured it multiple places.
okay, which is basically
The two-car garage is 18 feet.
Ms. Morgan,
It's basically
Ms. Morgan,
central.
your time's up. We're listening to the agent here.
So we believe that connectivity to other subdivisions is important. The other week when the Roberts came home, there was a fire truck on the street with cars on both sides of the streets. It was difficult to get through. We believe connectivity in a city like Wichita is very important. The size of these lots has been dictated by the city of Wichita. So we backed up and basically the Wichita urban growth area has dictated the design of this subdivision. The Roberts were at the community meeting. They heard the interests of the neighbors, and they've put in their restrictive covenants that no construction traffic can come through Prairie Crossing Second Edition. It all has to come in from 167. And they will phase their construction from the west so that the connection at Shade is basically those lots at the east end are the last ones to be developed. I stand for any further questions.
Any questions of the agent? Commission?
Yes, I would like to make a clarification. We do
no.
not have shoulders.
Hang on.
on
Hang
Prairie
on.
Crossing.
This is all for the commission to discuss now, ma'am. Ms. Fox?
Question for the agent. Can you speak, did you have a gentle person's agreement about having a gate at Shade Street?
No, Mr. Roberts is not interested in a fire gate there because that would restrict access to his constituents and to the residents in Prairie Crossing Second Edition. When they've testified that the entrance to Central, the intersection of Central and Reese, they said it's just a matter of time until there's a fatality there. We believe it makes sense to have two outlets for the safety of the public. I can't imagine a map of Wichita with cul-de-sacs everywhere in each subdivision.
Any other questions to the agent? Seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
I move that we approve per staff comment.
Second.
Got a motion approved by Mr. Green, second by Ms. Foster. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Carries unanimously. Okay.
Thank you.
4.3, is that next? Is it a full moon now?
Kathy Morgan for the Planning Department. This is application from a zone change from limited commercial and SF5 single-family residential to a PUD. This was maybe a couple months back, you all heard an amendment to a CUP to take a portion of land out, and you can see on the zoning map there, the turquoise outline is where the PUD is located, and then there's a little triangle piece to the east that was part of the county, and that has been annexed into the city. And so what they are requesting is to develop residential, single-family residential in the, do I have a mouse? Yes. in these areas, and then this is going to be multifamily over to the east. This is in conformance with the community investments plan, which also states that this is going to be developed probably by the year 2020 or 2035. I'm going backwards here. I want to move forward. With potentially higher density residential. Let's see. The access is from Kellogg. Would you please go to the next slide? And there's the aerial. So it has access to a frontage road. If you go left off the frontage road, you end up at 135th Street. You can go east on the frontage road and get to 119th Street. It's bounded on the south by the Prairie Bike Trail. And then just undeveloped properties to the east and to the west at this point. You have in your packet the language for the commercial PUD number 89, Dugan West Kellogg. And it's pretty straightforward. Parcel 1, lots with that can be limited by right in the TF3 two-family residential districts, and in parcel 2, which is that triangle piece on the east, is MF 29 or MF 18. You have a copy. Can you go to the plat, please? There you go. So this is a loop, and with access to only 2 Kellogg Drive at this time. Let's see. Of note, in parcel 1, the maximum number of dwelling units would be 116. The building height would conform to the TF3 zoning district. In parcel 2, the maximum dwelling units would be 66, and height would conform to the MF18 zoning district. I won't answer any questions if the commission has
Any
any.
questions of staff? Mr. Green?
Yeah, I've got a couple, and they're both pertaining to access. One of them is what is the access for parcel 2? How do they intend to have access there?
There is a reserve right here that goes in to parcel 2.
Okay, well, it appears as though that Reserve D ends
and that
with a solid line, and that it would indicate to me that that is where that reserve ends, and then there's a area in between that.
The applicant or the agent is online, and they would be better able to answer it, but that was my understanding, that the access into parcel 2 would be at that location.
Okay, and yeah, and then the other one is Reserve C, I know is,
down in the southwest corner?
Yeah, and I read that was for emergency access at some point, but other things too, drainage, beautification.
Once that property to the west develops.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll wait for the agent.
Cassie, has this been to the district advisory board?
Yes, it has, and they approved it unanimously as staff, as the staff report presents.
Any other questions of staff? Seeing none, applicant or agent, please. Give us your name, address, and you got 10 minutes.
Thank you. Russ Davey with Boffman Company, agent for the applicant. You'll notice that it's a little bit tricky to see or confusing on the drawing itself, but that is a dedicated public street that leads up, and Reserve D is that in-between land that connects the public street right of way with parcel 2. Reserve D has an arrow that points to that small extension. And I'll answer any other questions that you may have.
Any questions, agent?
Yeah, Russ, you just have the one point of access up on Kellogg that limits your developable dwelling units to 30 until you have a second point of access.
And I believe that's what Reserve C is going to do, is connect to the street on the other, I believe it's Dugan West Kellogg 3rd edition, potentially the 4th edition. I'm not certain.
Yeah, I just wanted you to.
We'll have multiple points of access.
Yeah, I just wanted you to be aware that, Reserve C, I see where that does go to the west, and that's how we were able to approve this plat initially, was knowing that there was going to be that connection point to the west. But until that connection point happens, the development, I think 30 dwelling units is what you're going to be limited to until that connection happens.
You could be correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So you know.
Seeing none, thank you. Is there anyone virtual want to speak on this item? Anyone virtual? Hearing none, I'll bring it back to commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
I move for approval, subject to staff comments.
Second.
Got a motion to approve for staff comments by Mr. Hartman, second by Mr. McKay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next item. Zoning case 2021-00039.
Bill Longacre, Senior Planner, current plans. This request is a zone change from single-family residential zoning to duplex zoning, TF3. You can see the zoning of the area and the site itself. We've got mixed zoning all the way around it. As you look to the east of the site, across Sycamore, we've got PUD zoning, which includes the ice rink, which also has a gym there. This is the ballpark. We've got single family here. There's some duplex there. We've got some multifamily. This is all GC zoning. You've got a mortuary here. You've got a mix of single family, residential, a duplex, fourplex, I believe. To the west, across this alley here, you've got more single-family zoning, and you've got some multifamily, and then you've got some general office. As far as development, it's mostly a single-family residential neighborhood. Could we have the aerial, please? Well, that's the site itself. Now, that particular aerial shows a single-family residence there. That single-family residence was damaged by fire, and it's tore down, so that site has been scraped clean. Let's go to the next slide, please. Let's go to another one. No, I'm not getting another one. Okay, let's, again, we're looking at mostly single-family residential neighborhood with a mix of duplex, a few duplexes, some fourplexes. Along Maple Street, you've got general commercial zoning, and you've got the most immediate non-residential zoning along Maple is a mortuary and an office. To the south, you've also got, again, single-family residence, duplexes, fourplexes, and again, this is in the Delano area, so it falls under the Delano plan. As far as conformance to plans and policies, the duplex zoning is and it conforms to the Wichita-Sedgwick County Comprehensive Plan. The duplex zoning also allows single-family residential development. We're looking at the future land use concept plan of the Delano, shows it as mixed use area, which would mean a mix of residential and commercial development. The duplex zoning certainly is conformance of that. Also, in this area along Sycamore, we've got a bicycle lane as well as sidewalks. The Delano plan promotes a more active street life by increasing pedestrian traffic. And South Sycamore's sidewalks and its bicycle lane and its close proximity to Riverfront Stadium, the Ice Center, direct connection to West Douglas certainly promotes pedestrian activity. TF3 zoning does not negatively impact that activity. It's in conformance with the Delano plan. Looking at the, it's also in the established central area of Wichita, Places for People's Plan, which identifies the site as an area of stability. Improvements to this area should strengthen the established uses and facilities. The TF3 zoning and this duplex certainly does not negatively impact that. We've also noted some infrastructures improvements along this area that were made, including sewer line, and that was constructed in 2007 and to the south in 1996. We have noted that that's the floor plan. Let's go to the elevation and the concept. That's okay. There's the front elevation of it, and go back to the concept. Now, the concept does not reflect that elevation, but this is the type of materials and styles you're going to look at here. That doesn't, it isn't in conformance with the rest. It doesn't match up with the rest of the residential properties in here. It'll have to go to the Delano Design Review to approve this. It has not happened yet. This was heard by the District Advisory Board back on September 13th. They approved it unanimously 9-0. I've had no calls on this. We've received no written objections, and I'll stand for questions.
Questions of staff? Mr. Warren?
Just one, there's not a site plan, so my concern is parking. Will there be parking in the rear? Is there enough room on the side?
Well, the site, the plans that we've got now does not show a garage. So as far as the site itself, it exceeds the minimum standards for duplex zoning, which is 6,000 square feet. So depending on where they place this building, they will have room on the site to get the parking off of Sycamore and either behind or beside the proposed duplex.
Any other questions of staff? Guess not. Thank you. Is there any applicant or agent?
I haven't heard from the applicant and agent for quite some time.
Did we hear?
Hi there, this is Derek Granfield.
Give us your address, please.
My address is 4202 West Shoreline, Wichita, Kansas.
You get that? Give us your address again.
Sorry, it is 4202 West Shoreline, Wichita, Kansas 67205.
Thank you. You got 10 minutes.
All right, thank you for the presentation on that. That's perfect. One of the questions asked on the parking is, you are correct. We were going to not have garage parking, but we were going to have in the front and back 3 paved spots on the front and back that the tenant could park at. And that concept picture there, it's kind of similar, but as you can see on the plans on the front elevation, it will be wider, one step over on that look.
Are you agreeing with staff comments? Are you agree with staff comments?
I am. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Any questions? Go ahead,
Can you hear
Mr.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I looked.
Mr. Granfield, is that alley accessible to this property? The alley in the back?
Yes, the alley is accessible. Yes, it is. The city on that, and it is maintained by the city, and it is accessible. It comes in off of Sycamore and then goes back around the property and then back out on the south side.
So you'll have access not only off of Sycamore, but also from the alley? Yep.
Any other questions to the agent? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you for a cooler design than we usually see. It's awesome. I said thank you for the cooler design than we usually see on infill lots. It's great.
Does anybody virtual want to speak on this item? Anybody virtual? Hearing none, we'll bring it back to commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
I would move to approve item 4.5 per staff comments and recommendations.
Second.
Second.
Approved by Ms. Fox, second by Ms. Foster. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody opposed? Nope. Unanimous. No other cases but other matters? Is that what's up now? I asked a couple weeks ago if anybody wanted to change where they're at on the advanced plans and subdivision. Only one I heard of was from Mr. McKay. He would like to move to advanced plans. So I basically took his place on subdivision, moved him to advanced plans. Is everybody in agreement with what we've come up with? Or any discussion? Mr. Dole?
I'd just comment that I would offer to continue to be a alternate for subdivisions.
Okay. The only thing we haven't done is I think the subdivision committee needs to appoint who they're going to have as their chair. Now, I know the vice chair is Ms. Gross. I don't know if that's it.
I'm present.
You wanting to have the election now, or do you want to wait for us to meet to have our election?
I think in the last time they did it at the subdivision meeting, if I remember correctly. Oh, I'm sorry. I believe that the last time there was an election for the chairperson of the subdivision committee, it occurred at a subdivision meeting.
So we'll wait on that. So this will be the advanced plan committee and subdivision committee. Now we vote on that?
You know, these appointments are by you, so as long as you're comfortable making that appointment, we're good. It doesn't take action of the whole.
All right. Thank you. I don't have anything else.
Move to adjourn.
We're adjourned.